Hi, everyone. Welcome to our webinar. This is a webinar dedicated for anybody who wants to provide live training to the learners as part of the blended learning they curate with TalentLMS. In TalentLMS, we strongly believe in the benefits of blended courses, and we really want you to combine self-paced with live training so that way you can boost learner engagements, you can get more courses adopted by your users, and of course, training becomes more interactive this way. So let's get started and see together anything you need to learn to get started with live training in TalentLMS. Let's see, first of all, our presenters. My name is Theo. I am part of the customer education team, and I will be hosting this session alongside my good colleague, Irini.
Hello all, my name is Irini. I'm a customer education specialist, and today I'm here with Theo to help you get started with live training in Talent LMS.
And you will hear from Irini a lot more in a little while. But now let's see what we have prepared, because this session is going to be focused on three key elements here. First, we will see how you can prepare and host instructor-led training in Talent LMS. And then we can see from the learner side, how do learners participate in those live sessions? And then it's all about results. So we will see together how you work with instructor-led training reports so that way you can measure the success of those sessions. Don't forget, this webinar has a live Q&A section. So make sure to use the Q&A button that you see on your screen. So that way you can ask your question and we can do our best to answer as many questions as possible live. Behind the scenes, Mary is also helping with the questions, but we will do again as much live questions as we can, so keep them coming anytime. By the way, you can always ask questions anonymously, but we would really love to know your name so we can have a direct conversation with you. One more thing, the session is recorded, so you will receive the recording once the session is over. So keep an eye on your inbox and feel free to share the recording with anybody who wants to see how to work with live sessions in Talent LMS. Let's get started. So Irini, if you're ready, can you please tell us why is it important to use live sessions? Why we should do that?
Well, you might be wondering why it is important to have instructor-led training alongside your self-paced courses. Well, it's a training approach that combines traditional classroom-based learning with online. In business settings, however, blended learning combines online, live interaction, and e-learning programs. But enough with the definitions. Let's dive into the benefits of instructor-led sessions and see why you should use instructor-led training. So, learners' engagement is increased since a learner has access to a plethora of different material types. A blended learning course will include videos, audios, visually enhanced presentations. We mentioned in a previous webinar how important is the visual training, especially for Gen Z. Each user can address a different learning style. Learners can practice at their own time and they can revisit the training materials as much as they want from anywhere at any time. There is no pressure to keep up with the class at the same pace, and support, instructions, and in general, more interactions between learners and trainers are achieved during the live sessions. Track training progress and learner performance. With reports, instructors have an accurate overview of their learners' progress, their evaluation, and focus on areas of development for each user, but also for the course itself. Which leads us to the next point. Gather and share valuable feedback. Communication is easier for both sides. For example, the learners can communicate any difficulties they face, and the instructors can follow up on the effectiveness of their course so as to make the proper adjustments to their course content. And last but not least, making learning fun. Using interactive content or gamification features, providing flexibility and adaptability, you do not engage your learners, you empower people to take learning into their own hands and enjoy the process by doing something interesting. In Talent LMS, we also support e-learning, not only with the different types of content we can add, as me and Theo did in our past webinar called Creating Courses, which link can be found in the chat, but also with live sessions. And in fact, we have two different types of live sessions, conferences and instructor-led training or ILTs. ILTs are live sessions that are part of a course. They can be held in a physical room or remotely. And of course, the attendance is not optional since the instructors will need to evaluate the users. On the other hand, conferences are independent online meetings that are not part of any course. Therefore, users can attend optionally without being graded. It can be a generic meeting with guest speakers, for example. But how do we achieve those live sessions? Well, Talent LMS is giving you the option to host your live sessions in your own conference tool. So if you're using Zoom meeting or webinar, Microsoft Teams, GoToMeeting, training, or webinar, or Big Blue Button, you can use your own account. Of course, if you host your sessions in your own account, it will be easier to set up, share the screen, start a recording, set up the capacity, and so on. However, you can also use the native integration that Talent LMS offers. But Theo, can you please give us more details into this?
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about how you can actually connect your own provider, as Irene very well suggested, with Talent LMS. Let me share my screen. And what you will find right here is that we have the administrator's dashboard. Remember, the administrator is the person who can adjust settings and make decisions for the account. So let's go together to the account and settings, and let's look at the very last part of the first page, the basic settings. So follow along if you want, scroll down with me. And here we have a look at the conferences. Here you have lots of different ways to facilitate meetings. So you can first choose the integrated native solution that we offer, the integrated video conference, which is a very good idea if you want to just get started right away with live sessions and you don't want perhaps to connect your own system right now. But remember that this is ready to use and it has a capacity of up to 40 people, which is one instructor and 39 learners. So it's a very good solution to get started right away without any setup. However, it's a good idea to consider integrating with Zoom, with Teams, with GoToMeeting, webinar training, Big Blue Button. For example, we are using Zoom, as you have very well gathered here. So let's select Zoom and let's talk about why it is important to integrate with that. Using your own meeting provider has twofold benefits for your instructors and for your learners. In fact, the instructors don't have to learn a new platform to deliver a course. So they can use the existing meeting provider that you anyways use. Whatever you use in other meetings, they will still use for training. And they can use all of the on-screen material that they can use in the platform. For example, does your meeting provider support annotations on screen? No problem. Does your meeting provider allow you to record the session or maybe, for example, screen share multiple screens or do anything of those features that you very well use daily? You can still use it here because technically you integrate what you already use. And for the learners, they don't have to learn anything new as well, which for them is beneficial because they can only focus on the content in an environment that they feel very comfortable in. So they can just focus on what the instructor delivers rather than getting acquainted with the new environments and feeling brand new all the way. So if you are into integrating your own provider, which is always a good idea, select the provider that you use on the conferences drop down there, and then just save. That is the very first step that you have to do, and that is what admins have to do. Now, the instructor has to connect their own account as well. So let's move here and switch to instructor. Just hover on your name, switch to instructor, and you need to have an account into the respective meeting provider. So for example, here, I'm going to connect my Zoom account. So that way, when I create a meeting, that will be facilitated through my Zoom account. So you see exactly the benefit of the integration. You create a meeting and live session in Talent LMS, which is something that you can do as an instructor-led training or as a conference that we told you before, and that automatically gets generated in the meeting provider that you connect. So there's no need of you to go to Zoom and create a meeting, share the link. You don't have to do it. You save time. So for the very first time to complete the integration as instructor, go to conferences right there. And all you have to do is click on the drop down and connect with Zoom. Click on it, and since you are probably already logged in on Zoom, or if you're not, you can just very quickly log in, and now you will see that this integration is connected as we speak. It is that easy. You saw me do it in real time, and I'm pretty sure that you can very quickly connect your own account as well. But Irini, how do we actually build a session? This is something that we do just to connect it, but how do we build a session?
Well, let me share my screen so we can do that step by step. So I'm sharing my screen now. Hope that you all have access to that. So I'm already turned into an instructor and I'm going to click edit on an existing course. So I'm going to use this one. And in order to add an ILT, a live session in our course, we will click the add button here, followed by instructor-led training. Now, our ILT is a unit, so we need to give our unit a name. So we're going to call it webinar. So let me just add this title here. And here we have the calendar where we will select the date. Let's go for the 16th of February. So I'm clicking on the calendar, and the next thing I'm going to do is give my session a name. So I'm going to call that make your instructor. We can change the date and the time if we want to, add the capacity here, and of course, who the host will be. Now, a quick tip here. The more instructors you have added in that specific course, the more options you will have here in the drop-down menu. But right now, I'm going to leave me as the host. Now, we're going for a remote session since we're operating remotely. So we're going to select webinar and check create a new webinar. We can also define the duration from here, and maybe we can write a short description of what this webinar is about. Let's add this to know us better, something short and friendly. And then we will click add session. And that's it. Now our session has been added in our calendar. If we click users now, this is where we will go to register users for this session. So we're gonna click course users, and we're going to add the users one by selecting to which session these users will be registered. So I'm adding a few people here. And then from the options, this is where we can add a description of that session that will show on the bottom of the title. So I'm going to add, let's add something like this, meet your instructor and general guidelines. And oops, a typo here. And now we're going back to sessions. For some reason, our title has disappeared. Sometimes those things happen in live sessions. So we're going to add it again. And once we're done, click Save and View. And on the next page, we can see a preview of this ILT unit. This is the registration page that our learners will see once they click on that unit. Of course, this button for them, it will say register. They have all the details here. And once the session is about to begin, the join button will be highlighted here so our learners can click and attend our session. Now, what if your company operates both remotely and on-site? Can some employees have on-site instructor-led sessions at the same time that the remote training takes place? Yes, this is something that you can do. All you have to do is click on the existed ILT unit. We have already created the remote session, so let's create also the on-site one. So we're going to click Edit. And the next thing we're going to do is click on the same date. So it's going to be on the 12th, on the 16th of February. Give again, add again the title of this session, only this time we're going to add on site. We're going to leave the same time, the same instructor, only this time we're going to select classroom. And then we can add the location of where that live session will be held. Again, we will define the duration. We can add the same description. I'm going to skip that for now. And I'm going to click add session. And that's it. Right now, I have two sessions on the same date. If I click save and view, on the next page, again, I will have a preview of the registration page, only this time I have two options. So at this page, both buttons will be register for the learners. Only this time, the learner will need to select which one they will attend. And once they click one of the two, the other will disappear for the screen. So they will have registered their attendance. Now, what if you have, though, a live session that takes approximately 4 hours, but you want to break it in two pieces in order for the learners to attend both parts, let's say, and be a little bit more convenient for them. So you can really engage the users with the training. Well, let's create a session, a different session this time. So we're going to click Add, and again, instructor-led training. This time, we're going to call this session Live Session. And let's select the 23rd of February. We're going to give our session a name. We're going to call that Induction Part 1. Let's say that it's a session about induction. I'm going to skip the date and the time. I'm going to leave it as it is. And let's say that it's a remote session. So let's select again the webinar and create a new webinar. So it's a 4-hour session that I want to break in two. So it will be 120 minutes, the first option. I'm going to skip the description and click Add Session. The second part, let's say that it will take place on Friday. So I'm going to select the 24th. Again, I'm going to give my session a title, Induction Part 2. I'm going to leave the date and the time as it is. Again, I'm going to select webinar and again define the session for 120 minutes. Skip the description for now. And now we have this option. This option will allow us to link the two sessions. So it could be one session that is being broken into. So I'm going to select multi-session and select the first part. And I'm going to give a general name for my session, induction. Click Add Session. And now that you see, we have two sessions with the chain right here. And if I click Save and View, this is the registration page, which is quite different from the ones that we've seen so far. It's one registration page with one button, but two live sessions that both sessions users need to attend. So it's not optional. They need to attend both sessions in order to be evaluated by the learner, the instructors. But but the instructors will also need to evaluate the users that have been registered to their sessions. How can they do that? Well, if you go back to the unit list and you hover on the webinar unit here and click on the users, this is where you will grade, you will evaluate your users. And you can either do it one by clicking the pencil button here, or you can click Mass Grade Users, change the status, add a grade, add some comments maybe, click Save, and this is how you can evaluate your users en masse. But I have a question for you, Theo. Do live sessions only happen in courses, or do we have any other alternatives?
That's a great question, Irene. So, first of all, you can see how easy it is to create a live session and make it part of a course. So, that is always something that we encourage you to do. But yes, there might be occasions where you might want to create a session which is not really tied into a training session in a course. So, let me show you how to do it. And let me give you a few examples of why you can always create sessions that are more independent from the courses than just them being part of the training. We have conferences, and conferences is where we should look on the right hand side here if you want to create a session which is not directly related to your training. What type of sessions those can be? Well, just a few ideas. You might have a guest speaker and you want to create a session where this guest speaker will provide a remote webinar, let's say a talk, maybe a live Q&A, anything that has to do with a session which will be suitable for more than just the people of the course. Still, you have this option, but conferences are usually broader sessions that can be used as all hands meetings, for example, or webinars with live guests, or maybe just a get together of people from different departments to discuss different types of training. The idea that we will use in this example is that we will create a conference which will have a guest speaker, and that guest speaker will be our head of marketing who will be providing tips and tricks and present the new branding of organization. So let's go and create that. First of all, click on Add Conference on the right-hand side here, and let's give the conference a name. I'm just gonna say, for example, that this is our new brand identity. That's gonna be the name of the conference. The dates, I think that we're going to launch on the 3rd of March. So I'm going to select 3rd of March right here. And start time, Let's give people a little bit of time to wake up. So that's going to be 11 o'clock in the morning. And if you want, you can add a description, and I'm going to provide there a bit more information about what this will be. So John, our head of marketing, will offer a tutorial on how we will handle the new branding and how we can stay consistent with it. The duration is very important so people can actually reflect that onto their schedules and make the appropriate arrangements. So that's going to be 60 minutes. And then add the conference as it is right there. Now, the conference is saved, but who's going to attend the conference? Anybody who we invite will be able to attend the conference. So, for example, if you want, you can start and add people manually that way, or you can filter people that you can register in the conference by selecting a course and filtering the people from there, or a group and filtering the people from there. I'm going to go with a group because that is something that everybody in marketing at least should attend. So let's go further down and let's go with the groups. You see, I'm going to select marketing there. And then you can just either continue adding one by one the people, or that's a tip from me here, you can expand all the way down so you can see all of the 14 people that we have there. And you can actually hover next to user and then tick the box. You see, everybody's pretty much selected. So from there, mass actions and add the related people in the conference. So now 9 users will be affected because the rest were already added before. So now we have all of those people registered for the conference. If you click back to users, you will see now that we have more people registered, and all of those are the people in the marketing group and the ones that they manually added before. But how do we notify them? Very easy. We can get to notify users there, and we can drop them a message. We can type a message that could alert them about that conference, send it, and that will be a custom message sent for them. So that way they will be able to attend that conference. If they want to go ahead and check the conference on the calendar, of course, we can go back to the home page and then we can get to the calendar. And what you will see here is my February. But if I go next and pick March, Friday the 3rd, we can click and see our new brand identity. So what will happen here as an instructor, you can always just click on the calendar, see the conference, and of course you can go to add the event directly to your calendar. So if I want this to be reflected on my email calendar as well, I'm using Google, so I can click on it and have that event visible on my day-to-day calendar. I hope that helps, and I hope that gives you ideas about how you can use conferences efficiently, because live training in Talent LMS doesn't just have to be in courses, but it can always be for a broader audience and for different types of meetings. Irini, I can see you looking like a learner, so if you have transformed to a learner, can you show us what the learner does?
Definitely. So I'm going to share my screen where I have been turned into Pacify, one of our learners in our Talent LMS Academy. So let's say that Pacify wants to register the live sessions that we created on the course using ILT for onboarding. So Pacify will click on the course, and the first thing she will see is the course info page here. So she will click the webinar. This is the live session that we created where we give the option to the user to register in one of two options here. So Pacify will go for the remote options, is working remotely. She has two options here. She's going to click register. Now she's registered, and of course, she can unregister if she wants to. And she's also given the option to add the session to her calendar. So if we click here, we can see the different type of options to add this session in our own calendar. Let's go back and click on the other session, on the live session, where it's the session that we created and we have broken into. Again, as you can see, we have the information for both sessions, but one register button. And again, Pacify will click register. And then if she wants to, she can add this session to her calendar too. But what about the session that Theo had created, which is optional? So let's go back with the home button. And what we're going to do is click on the calendar here. This is where we can see all the live events, either the ones that I have been registered or in general, all the available events. So we're going to click available events. And if I'm not mistaken, it's at the beginning of March. So we're going to click on the next month. And here it is. So if we click here, this is how we can add this event to our calendar. And then when the time comes, we can join like we would normally do with any other live session.
So you can now see how you can create, as an instructor, an instructor-led training session within a course and a conference outside a course. And also you just saw how things look from the learner side. So you can see both ways of the ILT, instructor-led training options that we offer within TalentLMS. But what about results? At the end of the day, we do that to engage people in training and to help them achieve more and more and more goals based on the training that we provide. So let me share my screen one more time, and you will see now that I turned back into an admin. So the admins are the ones who can see reports about everybody in the portal, right? An admin on the main account can see reports about the courses, the users, and specifically the instructor-led training that you provide within TalentLMS. So let's go straight to the reports and click on ILTs here. What you will see is at the top that there's an overview of what's happening. So we have 30 instructor-led training sessions here, units actually 91 registrations, the amount of pass, the average grade, and when the last activity was made. But also we see the list of the instructor-led training units that we have right there, the courses they belong, and then again, data about registrations, the pass, the average grade. So if you want to filter reports in a different way, if, for example, you want to see the list from the most registered to the list, click on registrations and you see it that way. Or if you want to see the most successful ones with the highest average grade, you can click on grade and you can see them from top to bottom. But what I'm going to do is click on ILT here and see the ILT units in an alphabetical order. And I'm going to pick this one, the instructor-led training units within the course of role of human resources. I have 4 registrations, 2 only passed. So let's go and see what happened there. Click on options, and the very first thing that you will see is how people have performed and how people have been graded. So very quickly on the right side, we have a pie chart where we can see the percentages, in this case, split equally. And you can always see again the users who participated, the grade date, the status, the grade, and of course, if you have more fields, you can always see those. Now, what you can always do though is see the sessions. So if you click on the sessions tab, you can see information about the sessions based on which those instructor-led training units were built. And again, you can see the sessions, the instructors, the location, and the capacity and the date. It's very important to clarify this though. The instructor-led training reports are reports that show the grade, in other words, how the people have performed following the instructor's feedback. So in TalentLMS, you can get reports about instructor-led training sessions based on the grade of the attendance as the instructor has provided. You might be wondering, can we see reports about the duration that somebody stayed in that session? This is a report that you can see, but on the meeting provider that you use database. So if you use Zoom, you can definitely have a look at the Zoom reports in Zoom, in your account in Zoom. So therefore you can get there all of the extra data about how users have behaved within that session, how much time they stayed online and other information. This is something that TalentLMS does not track because at the end of the day, although we have an integration where we can build a session here and connect and create on Zoom or any other tool, still the session is hosted on that tool itself. So you create the session here, but at the end of the day, you host it in Zoom. So that specific data about what happened within the session, that is kept on Zoom. On TalentLMS, we keep data about how we interact with the users. So the instructors provide feedback and grade the users who participate in instructor-led training sessions, so that way users complete them. And that is exactly the data that we showcase on that specific report. I hope that clarification helps, and I'm pretty sure that the instructor-led training reports will become a very frequently visited place, especially if you create instructor-led training sessions within your courses. Let me share one more tip before we go to the Q&A. I can definitely see some questions already popping up. So let me tell you this, and then we go straight to the Q&A. How do you notify people? How do people know about your upcoming sessions? I mean, they can always log in and see them, right? But you can always send emails. You can send automated notifications that will notify the learners. So that way they know, for example, when a new live session is created or when a session is about to start. So let's go together on the events engine and click add notification. This is how we can create them. Remember, administrators only, right? The administrator can work with notifications. Let's select the events. The event is what triggers the notification. So for example, very quickly, I can scroll down, or let me show you a quick tip here. Type ILT, and there you see filtered only the related notifications with the live sessions. So here we have when you create one, when you register to one, or my favorite, couple of hours before an ILT session starts. Let's go for this one. We want to create a reminder about an hour before the session starts so people get ready and get situated to participate in the session. The recipients, you guessed it right, is a related user. The related user is a person who has registered to a session whose session will start in the amount of time that we will define here. So let's make it literally quite a last minute one. So I'm going to say 1 hour. 1 hour is enough to remember that this meeting is coming up soon. In the body, we create the message, the email that people will receive. The first line is the subject line, and then we have the text. And if I expand this a little bit more, you see exactly the title being your webinar is about to start. And then we create our message populating fields that will be useful for the learner. You see here we have the smart tags, as we call them, placeholders, who will create those fillable fields for us. So if I click on please join from here and I want to present them with the link to go and join the session, click on ILT URL. The ILT URL will get you to the point of the course, which has the ILT, and from there, it's just one click away to click the join button. Of course, you can add more content, you can differentiate the content, but let's give it a name for now, and let's call it webinar reminder. And if you're ready, create the notification, and that's just it. Anytime now that users have registered to a session, they will be able to get this notification 1 hour before the session starts, so they can get a little bit prepared last time. I know that there's a lot of questions coming up, and since I'm already sharing my screen, let me start with the first, and Irene, you're gonna do the next one. So the first one is from Joseph. Joseph is asking, can I turn the join link into a button so learners can click on the button instead of the link? I think I know where you're going with this one. You want to replace the join link with a button because maybe people are more, let's say, keen based on what you see from your colleagues to click on that button instead of that being a link. Yes, we can do it, but we need a little bit of code. In Talent LMS, we have created a cheat sheet, basically a collection of customizations that you can apply. And in the chat now that is shared, and of course, we will be able to provide this to you as well in our follow-up email. But the idea here is that you have a PDF where if you scroll a little bit further down, you can see that we have lots of different customizations that you can perform. What we're looking for at this point is to turn the join link into a button. So that is number 15, and we will navigate into that part right now. So let's go to number 15, and I'm going to scroll a little bit faster here. So yeah, here we go, number 15. Now, what you see here is code. Don't worry, all we need is to copy paste. That's all I'm going to do. So we grab the code here, just copy it as it is. And then you see here that this is CSS. If we get back to Talent LMS, and as administrators, we go to account settings, especially themes, we have two different tabs, CSS and JavaScript. So our code was CSS, click on the CSS tab, and then you see I've already experimented with other customizations before, but I'm just going to paste, nothing more. And then update. Let's see now how that looks. So this is successfully completed. So let's switch now, for example, to instructor. Let me go to a course that I was working with before. And if we click into that unit, let's see. Yep, here it goes. So you see now that the join button is very visible there and the link has turned into a button. Of course, people can click, of course, people can hover, and they will be able to quickly identify it and join the session. I hope that helps, Joseph. And of course, you can change the colors of the button. So if you have a look at the codes, you can identify where the color is and just replace it. Let me stop sharing and send this question over to Irini. And that is from an anonymous attendee. So they are asking, how can I follow up on the attendance of the people who came to my office and classroom session? Can I track this?
Yes, definitely we can. And that's a really great question there because it gives us the option to give you an extra tip when it comes to the on-site sessions. So I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to use the same course that Theo has been working on. So I'm gonna, again, I am in the instructor and I'm gonna click edit on this course. And I'm going to this session, which I know is for people that attended live into an on-site session. And I'm gonna click again the users. As you can see, this is the list of the session users that have registered on my session. They have already been created, but it doesn't matter because what I want to show you here is this print attendance sheet. So if I click it, this is how you can print the attendance sheet. So there's no need to create something on your own. As you can see, we have all the information here about the date, the time, who the instructor is, the location, and the name and the email and the signature field for all the users to sign once the session ends. And of course, when it comes to the attendance sheet, if you click this arrow, you have the option to customize it. And by customize it, we meaning that you can add more fields on that attendance sheet. That's the custom user field. So if I want to, I can add the location and the leader name, click save. And if I click on the attendance sheet one more time, you see that now it will be updated with the customization that I have added here. So you see the location and the leader name are there. I hope that this helps. So yes, no need to create something on your own. Just print the already exist attendance sheet here.
Thank you, Rini. And actually, that was a very good tip that we can also customize it. So, yeah, thank you for adding that onto your answer. There's another question from Vernetta right now. So, Vernetta is saying, I am an LMS admin for a training center. We have a Zoom account for the center. Is this Zoom account the default for all the instructors for the live sessions, or do they necessarily have to have their own because they don't? Right. Vernetta, this is a good question. We strongly suggest that the instructors have their own Zoom accounts. Otherwise, they will not be able to integrate their own profile and therefore launch a live session using integration. But I'm going to give you a workaround here. So if you have a generic Zoom account for the organization where everybody just uses one set of credentials, logs in, creates the meeting, and follows the setup that you have, at the end of the day, they will end up with a meeting link, right? When they create a meeting there. So if we go to Talent LMS, so let me share my screen once more. Let's say that we want to create a session which will be able to be hosted with that, but not through the integration since they don't have their own profile to get. They have created a session on Zoom. They have gotten the link. So if we go to add an instructor-led training unit here, so let's call it custom here. Let's pick, for example, tomorrow as a date. Let's use here new meeting as a name. Of course, for that example now, it doesn't matter. And what they have to do is still keep it as a webinar, but do not click the create a new webinar because they won't have anything connected, so the integration won't work for their profile. But what they need to do is grab the link from Zoom, as they did it outside of Talent LMS, and paste it in the description as I have right now. Add the session, and then if you go down to save and view, you see now where I'm going with this, right? So now they can get this link, paste it on the browser, and then they will be able to actually go and attend the meeting in the common Zoom account that's they usually work with. So that is a workaround. So You can do that. You can already build the meeting in Zoom and then copy the link and paste it here. But to be fair, think about having the instructors register with a Zoom account so that way they can integrate their own profile and they don't have to do that. They will just create the meetings in TalentLMS. There is another question, and that is from Selena. Selena is asking, do we have to have a particular subscription to use the integrated meeting provider? We use GoToTraining, but I don't see why we need to integrate. What's the benefits if TalentLMS provides one? Selena, great question. So let me switch back to admin and look at the account and settings and talk about it when we're there. So to look into the integrations again, account and settings as an admin, basic settings all the way down. And yes, you can definitely use the integrated video conference provider there. Absolutely. So you get Talent LMS literally out of the box. You can just create a live session as it is. But think about this. It has a capacity of up to 40 people. So one instructor, 39 learners. And it's a good idea since you use GoToTraining to integrate with Talent LMS. So just go there, save, and then again repeats the process with connecting your own account. But the idea is that when you integrate something that you use daily, in Talent LMS, you will just have to create a meeting into the course, a live session, and automatically GoToTraining will have created all of the backgrounds settings. So the link will be there and users will be able to join it straight through the course. But the benefit is not just the ease of time. This is one of the biggest ones. But your learners won't have to learn a new platform. So they won't have to get familiarized with the integrated video conference environment. Or your instructors won't have to learn how to deliver a class or content through a completely new environment as well. You don't have to train anybody to use something different. They will use exactly what they have been used to using. And also all of their very familiar features, that being recording the meeting, that being annotating the screen, emoji reactions, lots of different things that every provider offers. If you integrate with this one, you will still be able to use all of those familiar benefits that you use daily as well in Talent LMS. So I see what you mean. It's absolutely time saving to just create a session as it is, but think about it. Just a couple of minutes to integrate, and then you will see that it will be something that everybody will feel straight at home with. I hope that this gives you a few reasons to give it a try. Irini, are you ready for another one? I can see a smile, so that's a yes. So Jason is asking, if you break up a unit into sessions, can you grade each session or just a single unit? So how does that work?
Well, that's a really interesting question. So let me share one more time my screen. And this time I'm going to click edit on the course I have been working with you today. And since Jason is asking about the unit that we broke into two sessions, let's hover on the live session and hover on the users here. As we said, this is where we will go and grade our users. And as you can see, it's not giving us the option to grade each session separately. So since it's one unit with one registration button, it will get one grading from the instructor. Even if you select the parts of your units, even if I select the part one, the only thing that I can check from here is the attendance. So if you want to follow up if your users have been attended both parts, yes, you can check that from here. But when it comes to the grading, it can only be done once, either with each user individually by clicking this button here, or if you have a grader list by clicking the must grade users and grade everybody at once. I hope this helps.
Thank you, Rini. And this is a question from Ivan or Ivan, I hope I'm saying it right. So we are conducting exams via Zoom sessions. During exams, we need to see screens and cameras of all attendees. Can we do that with the Talent LMS embedded session solution? Well, that's a good question. The quick answer is no, because when a learner gets to a live session, an ILT unit and a specialist session, they need to click join so that way they attend, but then to complete it and move forward, they need to be graded by the instructor. So they need to have that session passed in order to move forward. What you can always do though is if you're using Zoom anyways, I would suggest to still do the Zoom integration so that way you will be able to get all of the benefits of Zoom. So if you have created a setup there that can do that, absolutely so. However, this is not something that TalentLMS provides because to complete an ILT unit, you have to move on to the next one. So maybe you can be in the session of a unit in a course, open a different window, get to another course and do the test there. But this is something that you might want to just think of how this could be done either way using Zoom. Still, if you have more details that you can share with us, please send us an email. That is trainingteam@talentlms.com. It's on the chat as well. And you will be able to give us a little bit more detail so we can advise as well. But at this point, the answer is this is not something that TalentLMS can do. Another one from Selena. Can TalentLMS issue certificates for attendees who complete the training via this process? So Selena, TalentLMS can issue certificates for anybody who completes a course. So let me share my screen for a very short moment as well. And if we get to a course, let's just go to any course, doesn't have to be a specific one. So let's go to this one. Here, you will always have the option to go to the certificate in the course settings and just pick which certificates you want to use. And then, of course, update. So any user who completes the course will get a certificate. Now, are you wondering whether people who complete a session can get certificates? No, the certificate is given at the end of the course. But then, if you create a course which will only have an instructor-led training unit inside, which only has a session you want, then yes, technically, they just go to the meeting, they finish the meeting, they get the grades, they pass it, of course, and therefore they get a certificate because that course was just based on that meeting. So if you want to create a system of courses like that, you can definitely create courses with just the ILT units and the session you want inside, and therefore give a certificate for the attendance. But in a course which has other units and live training, somebody would have to complete the entire course to get the certificate. I hope that clarifies this a little bit. And another one from Rachel. Is there a way to automatically post a recording of the webinar to attending users of TalentLMS? So if I understand correctly, Rachel, you're looking to host a session, like get in a course, host a session at the same time that being recorded, and then at the same time as well, having that uploaded as parts of the course, right? I mean, when the webinar finishes, but have the automatic way of uploading. I'm afraid that that's not something we can support right now. We don't have this feature. Good idea though. But what we advise you to do is to record the meeting, like we do with this webinar right now, for example, and then get into the course that you want this to be part of, and then add it as a unit so that way people can see it there. So there's not an automation for that. The way would be to record it and then upload it as a video. Just a brief reminder, let me go as an instructor. Just go to any course, for example, and go to add, pick a video units, and there you have already your recording on your device. Use a video, upload a video there, and that is how you save. And then you got that recording of that webinar in that course as well. Irini, another question for you. Anonymous attendee says, can you create a conference that is private to certain users, or are all conferences available to everybody?
Let me share my screen one more time so we can have this question answered as well. Well, when it comes to the conferences, you have the option to create public conferences. That is, that all your users will have access to those conferences and attend, but you can also target the audience too. And I'm already as an instructor in my screen. So what I'm going to do is click on the conferences. So I'm going to find the list of conferences and live sessions I have, and I'm going here to the one that Theo created with us in this session. He has already shown how we can select the audience, but let's see that one more time. So if I click on this conference, our new branding identity, and go to users, this is where I can select which audience will have access to this conference. As you can see, I have a drop-down menu here where I can select audience from people that have been enrolled to courses, or if I scroll further down, for people that belong into a group. So once I click that, this target the audience, and this conference will be available for all the users that have been added, for example, in this group. So even if someone clicks all available events, since they're not a member of that group, it's not going to show on their calendar. And of course, you don't need to create a group and add any courses in that group. You can simply just create a group so you can gather the people that need to attend that conference. So yes, groups can work with this way too, without any courses, just to bring together people that needs to be targeted as audience for conferences. I hope this solution will work.
Thanks, Irini. And let's get to last question for the day. That is from Vernetta. If you set up a course live or in person, how is the course presented on the instructor side? So I think you're looking to get a preview of when you create it and when the time has come, how does the instructor start the session, right? Well, we have two options here. Option number one, we get in the course. So let me get in a course with you, sharing my screen right away. So the first way is to get in the course. So if we get, for example, into the course I was working earlier in, just click on it and let's go to the live training, couple of sessions we had before. So now you will see here that the join button is available. Of course, this is a session that has not taken place at this point, so I cannot click it. But if that was something that was due to start in like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, you had the option to click. So the instructor gets into the course, into the unit, click on join, and literally you start the session. I'm going to show you the other one that I customized as well, which I think it's clickable right now. So click on this one, and then you see, click on join, and the session will start. Another way is to get to the conferences. So if we go away from that and get to conferences, you see now that we have a list of live events. So we can see, for example, the conference, or we can see any webinars that we have inside the course that you can click join and actually start that session. I hope that helps. So within the course and within the conferences list as well. So this has been lots of good questions. So thank you so much for sending the questions over, and thank you everybody for participating in the Q&A section. Just one last thing as well, because I know that there is more questions that we will answer, and that is done by email. So at this point, trainingteam@talentlms.com, that is our email address, and you can share any questions that you have right there. We are here to answer anything about Talent LMS. Also, if you have more webinars that you would like to see, or if you want to register to upcoming webinars, join our website. That's talentlms.com/webinars. This is our Talent LMS Academy, where you can see past sessions, and we have a lot of them, and upcoming sessions as well. So register for the next webinars, share the ones that we have already done, and feel free to send us by email anything that you would like to share with us, questions, suggestions, anything at all. Thank you, Mary, for being behind the scenes in the chat, and thank you, Rini, for sharing your expertise today.
Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Theo, for the information.
And we hope to see you in our upcoming sessions. Till then, happy training, everybody. Bye bye.